Number one is the player. If it's not, then we have a big issue. But number one is that junior golfer, the player. The player is number one above all costs. They're way above where I am in the coaching realm in the equation because they're the one that's hitting the shots. But the parent, I think, is number two. And that's because they are going to see their child hit more golf shots than I ever will. They're going to be at the dinner table or on the ride home 100% of the time, and I never will. So the parent needs to be a part of the team, in my opinion. I want the parent to be comfortable to give me some feedback about what they see on the golf course.
Welcome to The Golf Parent, where you get access to the best minds in junior golf. Today is episode 50, which is insane to even say out loud, and we're celebrating it with someone I've wanted on the show for a long time, Tim Cooke. Tim is a PGA Master Professional, a former Division I standout, and one of the few coaches in all of America with formal training in pedagogy. What's pedagogy? It's the science of how people actually learn. He blends biomechanics, motor learning, psychology, and decades of real coaching experience into a development system that generally changes junior golfers. In this episode, we break down a whole bunch. Why a neutral lower spine protects kids from injury, which obviously we all care about. How structured 5-ball sets accelerate learning. What parents need to understand about motivation at the tender age of 16. It's an important year. Burnout, multi-sport development, and keeping golf fun. And the simple communication habits that make parents part of the team instead of part of the pressure. It's practical, it's science-based, and if you're raising a golfer, you're going to take a ton from this conversation. Before we dive in, a quick thanks to our amazing partner, IJGA, the International Junior Golf Academy. If your junior is serious about long-term development, IJGA offers world-class coaching, elite facilities, and a structured environment that helps juniors prepare for college and beyond. Check out IJGA.com and let them know that the Golf Parent sent you. And now, let's talk to Tim Cooke. Tim, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Should be a fun conversation.
It's definitely going to be a fun conversation. I want to start here with, you've got a kind of an interesting path to get into coaching. So after playing very high level Division I golf, you decided to get into teaching, and you went back and you studied something I've never even heard before. In fact, off air, I had to rehearse the word with you like 3 or 4 times. Pedagogy. Did I get that correct?
Nailed it.
And that is the study of how to teach specifically sports. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Tell the audience maybe what you learned on how to teach sports and what goes into actually getting it to stick.
Absolutely. So I was very fortunate. I played golf at the University of Virginia and had an extra year of eligibility, and I knew that I wanted to go into the coaching route. And so I went to the Department of Education there and said, what can I do to help me prepared to be the best coach I could be? My goal is to be the best coach possible. And is there a degree I can gain? And they said, yes, we have it. So pedagogy is it's kind of a combination of motor learning, exercise physiology, sports psychology. So it's very much it gave me a huge jump start, to be honest. It gave me the academic background of how the body moves, how we learn, how we work on the mindset to optimally perform. And that background in an academic sense definitely jump started me. It probably opened up the doors to my first jobs. And then obviously I had to do the practical, which is actually teaching people, and take all of that academic background and put it into action. And so without question, though, I still use it to this day because it is important. How does the body work? And for there's no such thing as a safe golf swing for your body. I say that, but as safe as possible because we're leaning over and we're spinning fast. So there's a lot that goes into it. But looking at it from a biomechanical standpoint, looking at it from a motor learning, like how to learn, how to develop, and then obviously the psychological piece of it too. So it was a great jump start for my career.
It makes sense. Okay, so let's look at each one of those pieces. So let's look at maybe swing mechanics to start with. You're right. It is kind of an aggressive, consistent move that we're doing, and unfortunately, it's one way over and over again. What maybe surprised you that you learned where you're like, oh, this would have been good to know maybe when I was starting out on my golf journey, or was there something in the actual biomechanical or the swing kind of motion that helped you to understand how to kind of create the safest swing possible?
So yeah, I think a lot of it is just like how the body moves from a functional movement standpoint, uh, and how can you get the muscles to support the joints, to support the bones, how to reduce some shear forces on the body that you're gonna have. But there's certain things you're looking for in the golf swing that, and there's no one swing. Let me be very clear there. It's not. This is one swing for everybody. It's taking that person's body who's and how that person in front of you moves, that junior, as they're growing and as they're both outwardly and upwardly, and adjusting the swing accordingly. And somewhat like playing for the future, like playing the long game, not just, hey, can they shoot in the 60s tomorrow, but can we like make sure they're healthy and not putting too much shear force on their back is essentially is like the low hanging fruit in terms of what you do in a golf swing. So I think it was the biomechanics of the but really the functional movement patterns and what I learned in that realm is that helps me the most from a technical standpoint today.
Okay, so our junior golfer then, if we could give them one little piece of advice, and I'm just going to guess here right now, would it be for back health all throughout as they're growing in every direction? Would it be something like teaching them how to activate their core, like pull their belly button into their tailbone, and like is there I'm gonna put you on the spot here. I'm trying to
That's
get
right.
that one little nugget where you're like, okay, cool. If I can tomorrow start teaching my junior to activate this one part of their body or to be aware of this one thing in their swing to give them the best chance to kind of save their back as they go through their
Yeah,
career.
I would say, yeah, that's a relatively easy answer. I could obviously give a few answers, but if we're going to do one, it would be to create a neutral lower spine. So as opposed to cupping excessively or
Ah,
putting an excess like cup in the lower back, try and have the lower back, say from the thoracic spine all the way through the lumbar. So like that lower, the mid to lower half, if that can look from the down the line perspective relatively flat versus a cupping of the or even a curve, you can create a very neutral spine. So correct hip hinge with a neutral spine, that would greatly help how someone can like rotate into the trail hip and the lead hip throughout the swing and reduce some stress in the lumbar spine.
what's a feel that we can look for to make sure that we're in more of a neutral lower body feel?
Yeah, it's so if you stand straight up and down, and I
Hmm.
appreciate this is a podcast, so I'll try and be as descriptive as I can as versus just hopping out of my chair right now and demoing it. But if you stand straight up and down, and if you peek in the mirror and try and make your belt line dead flat or parallel to the ground. So you'll probably feel like you're tucking your pelvis under your upper body slightly. Most people, when they stand, and if you look in a side onto a mirror, you'll see your belt
It would be at an
is at a
angle.
slight tilt.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you can standing just straight up and down, if you can make your tuck your pelvis and make your belt line be parallel to the ground, you will feel a very neutral lower back. And then from there, hip hinge over, have some pelvic, then tilt, keeping that same flatness that you're now feeling in your lower back. That that'll very quickly do it.
Fantastic. And that would also, I'm assuming, create a more stable foundation as well to be swinging from because there's one less variable because you've activated and engaged this very important part of the whole foundation, which
Yep.
everything's kind of moving and spinning around as opposed to potentially allowing that cupping of the lower back to change throughout the swing.
Correct, and it's going to like, your pelvis is going to go into a cupping and tucking throughout the swing. However, you kind of want to have you want it to happen at the right time,
Sure.
and so if you start in that very neutral, it very naturally it will move as we would prefer. Again, I wish there was like one swing that could like really eliminate all lower back injuries for any age of golfer, but if you can start with a neutral spine, you dramatically increase your chances of lowering the risk of injury. And I want everyone to play as much golf as possible. as healthily as possible.
So if you were to ask, or if you were to look to one swing right now on tour that you think, knock on wood here, would
Yeah.
give that athlete the best chance of longevity based on their swing, whose swing would you model?
Um, Great question. Um, Probably. So if you look at Ludwig's swing, so he is he stands very close to the golf ball, very neutral lower spine, and he kind of pushes away from the golf ball the whole time. He almost creates space throughout his golf swing because he starts so close to it and in a very like upright posture. I'm risking that upright word there to maybe overused. But it's very neutral in terms of how he stands. He stands really close to it, and then he can create space throughout the swing. So that would be a good model from at least a setup standpoint. Another way you can check the setup um, that creates the nice balance from lower to upper body is, again, if you look at your swing from take a picture of your golf swing from that down the line perspective. If there's a if you can imagine a vertical line dropping from the armpit, going through the front of the kneecap, kind of into the middle of the shoelaces, that's a kind of a nice balancing point of upper center versus lower center. And again, like you couple that with a nice flat neutral lower spine, lower back, you're in a pretty darn good spot to get things moving, creating some space, and hopefully flushing the golf ball.
Well on your way. What's your theory on why are we seeing over the last decade so many good Scandinavian golfers coming into the tour?
Um,
There's a lot of them.
there's a lot. There's absolutely, and I think clearly their national team programs should be commended. Like that would be the without having gone there to see their national team programs in action. So small population densities, right? Limited seasons. So clearly there is then and their national team programs are highly supportive of their players as they're developing and growing from a holistic model. And that's why the USGA is in, I think it's year two or maybe year 1.5 of their US national team program. And I do know that the folks who started that program before they really got going, they visited all sorts of national team programs all over the world to try and pick and choose the best pieces of it. So those early development national team programs up in the Scandinavian countries clearly
They're
deserve
doing
a lot
something
of
right.
credit. Yeah, that's yes.
100%. Okay, so another part then of what you studied was the motor skill development. What do we need to know then when it comes to how do we teach new skill sets when it comes to like a physical skill? What goes into actually teaching that?
Um, so I very much believe in giving all players like a practice plan, and but within that practice plan, I and there's a lot of research that shows if you chunk your practice into little groups. So say you want to you every 3 to 5 golf balls you have a plan. Um, and so you take the 3 to 5 golf balls, you place them down, and for this, say these 5 shots, your objective is to create a great posture, that great setup we just talked about. And that's the only thing you do for those 5. And then you maybe have a mirror or you use your phone to take a video between the sets, between those swings, and then you evaluate. So the key, I think, as you're learning skill, whatever, when you're trying to improve your technique and whatever that piece of improvement plan is with the technical side of things, the key is like having a plan every 5 golf balls for those 5. And then you take a little break and go, how did I do? Did I have great posture every time there? How did that shot? How did it feel? What did it make the golf ball do? And then create some space and time between sets. So essentially, I love when players follow a 5 ball set rule. So every 5 shots, you have a plan based on your swing improvement and what you're trying to create. And then after those 5, you must put in some time. So you could argue that time equals learning. So by having some interference between your next set, time creates the interference. So if you have hit your 5 ball plan, take a break. A break for a junior golfer could be get on Instagram and like see if someone messaged you, or like look at a different swing, like do something to take your brain somewhere else, then get 5 golf balls and you go deeply into focus for the next 5. And those 5 maybe could be the same thing. You say, I didn't love my setup. We're not comfortable there yet. So I'm going to hit these 5. And all I'm going to do is trying to create my routine. So I create a neutral lower spine at setup, hit the 5 shots, take another break. The break, if you don't want to get on social media, maybe the break is hit a chip shot. The key is the break between 5 golf ball sets is creating some time and having some interference. So that could be a shot. Maybe if you're hitting full swing 7-irons, grab your lob wedge and hit a high flop. Or maybe grab a driver and try and hit big cut or a big hook. Do something different than you just did, and then go back to the learning plan. So I really think I'm a huge believer in 5 ball sets. I'm a big believer in between those sets creating some time and interference so learning can occur. Learning essentially, in my opinion, occurs when you're having to recall the information. Hence why the break is important. So if the only thing you're trying to do in a practice session is learn a great setup for you, whatever that may be, um, every 5 shots, only focus on a great setup. But do something, maybe a 1 minute break between those 5 golf ball sets. And so you've created some interference. So then you have to go, oh, what is a great setup? You're recalling the information, making your mind work through that process. Then the body goes through the process, and you're then for learning a great setup.
I've never heard of a five. Like this makes sense where it's almost like a concentrated deep learning time where so basically what you're saying is what I've been doing at the driving range is completely wrong. Where I take a bucket of balls, I just whack away at those bucket of balls, continually
Yeah,
get more and more frustrated,
yeah.
find one little shot that actually does well, think that I'm getting progressing, going back, regressing throughout hacking through the rest of the bucket of balls and be like, okay, cool, I was here for an hour, I put in some work. So you're saying that that's wrong,
Not ideal.
not ideal.
Definitely not.
Very political way of
No, the
saying it.
good news is like at least you I will say though, the defense of that theory is at least you're hitting golf balls. It's better than not. It's like you're getting a little sun, so you maybe getting a little vitamin D, so that's healthy too, right? Are you really doing something where if you're trying to make a change, right? And you're trying to make an improvement, you're trying to get to this great setup we talked about, we led with, then then no, you're not really helping. Maybe for the first 5 shots, you could be the first 5 could be great, and then that you just keep going. So that learning center in your brain, that activity level is doing this, just going down. Like you're just not present. You're not
Yeah.
actively getting that learning center in your brain to like be really engaged. Then take it away. Then make it engaged. Take it away because you, again, like if learning is, in my opinion, is the ability to easily recall the information and make your body do said move. That's why like 5 ball set, break, have interference, then go, okay, what do I need to do now? What is it? And you get back on task that way.
So one of the dangers then, from the analogy of just banging through, because if you go to a driving range or if you're if you're being exposed to a bunch of different golfers, the best golfers always are incredibly intentional with their shots. They're a lot slower than the guy that's out there just literally rapid fire, just
No
banging
question.
through the balls. So I guess one of the dangers is that you're almost by doing that, you're not actually you're ingraining or creating that myelin in your brain of the bad habits of like the bad shots because you're hitting a bad shot over and over and over again as opposed to really kind of taking a step back and really putting as much focus and intention to that one good shot. So I say that to say what then would be a effective long-term athletic development strategy then to make sure that when they are practicing, they're practicing those bite-sized little skills and those things that are going to really benefit them in the long haul of becoming a great golfer.
Yeah, get correct. So if we do the little bite sizes in our practice, in like daily practice, I think it's important that you have outlook of your whole week. So I'll keep stretching. You can see where I'm going probably.
Yeah.
So your outlook of what does one my week practice look like? Maybe at the end of each day you need to reflect. Maybe you're really good at journaling. Some people are, some people aren't. That's okay. But say you can reflect at the end of the day. That was a great practice session. No, I didn't accomplish my goals. And then for the whole week, you can make a game plan as to what your improvement is, and then you can stretch that out to the month and the year. Um, I think what tricky, especially in junior golf, competitive junior golf world, is that there's a lot of tournaments. So when you practice, your development versus when are you practicing your performance matters too. So kind of mapping out maybe a month at a time or 2 months at a time as to when you have pockets of you have space to do skill development. You can tweak your practice heavier into the skill changing, whether it be chipping, putting, full swing. Um, and then when you get closer to the tournaments, they without question, there's you're trying to flip it more to performance, but still trying to develop skill because like last time I checked, junior golfers they're a junior golfer. They are not on the pro tour yet, so like they still need skill development. If you're only playing tournaments all the time, um, which is needed, by the way. You have to play tournaments to like test yourself, see where your skills are. So I'm not knocking, but you have to have gaps within those tournament within that tournament schedule that you can allow the player time to not be stressed and say, "Hey, I have time to like make this grip change or whatever it may be."
Hmm. You've worked with a lot of very good junior golfers, and you've helped develop them, I think over 100 now, to actually get college scholarships and to play high-level college golf. I guess my question to you is like, how would you define an elite junior? Like, what goes into being the best of the best?
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's two levels. One would be a competitive junior. A competitive junior is someone who maybe plays on the high school team. They do like tournaments, um, but they're not sure yet whether they want to play college golf. And that is okay, by the way. It's like that's absolutely fine. Then I would define, like, say, an elite junior. I'm going to say they have a clear cut goal. They want to play college golf. Um, and that's really how I look at it. I work with personally generally start at eighth grade, and then through high school. I almost never now work earlier than that. I'm not saying that I'm above that by any stretch of the imagination. There's only so much time in the day, so I have to kind of somewhat limit it. So by the time the junior gets to me, they have an idea of what they want. Do they want to play college golf or not? And so then if that's a yes, or if it's a no, that's okay. I'm still more than happy to work with them. But if it's a yes, then how they map out their practice over the next like 3 or 4 years and how they develop their what tournaments are they going to play in, um, what other sports do they need to play to stay healthy or gym work maybe they need to do. That all gets wrapped into that bucket. But I will say this, and when it comes to, and I tell every junior, especially in that ninth, 10th grade year, if I'm starting with them at that point, and they say, yes, I want to play college golf. And then I'm make sure that I'm very clear to them and hopefully the parent too, uh, is that if you are if your school choice, the type of school you want to go in college, like the experience you want in college, if it doesn't match up with where your level of play is, that's fine. I am completely okay with that, and I encourage the junior to be very when they get to that college decision time to be very honest with themselves, the parents, and me as to what type of school do you want to spend 4 years at? Meaning, there's a lot of schools in the US where you can play college golf. There's a high number. But if you want to go to a school that has a big college experience, you want the big football team, the basketball team, and you want that large school experience, maybe your golf game doesn't quite match up to that. Like, or academically, say you want a I'm going to pick schools here, like a Northwestern, Stanford academic, like experience. I should say UVA too because I went there. So UVA, I'll put like that type of academic experience. Maybe your golf scores don't quite match those schools, and that's okay. Like, because what's really important is we can find you a school where you have a great fit. Maybe you play golf, but you're getting an education and an experience in college that you are happy with. The last thing I want is for kids to settle on the school just because they're supposed to be playing college golf.
Hmm.
Without taking a more holistic look at the entire university or college experience.
Correct. Critical. Um,
What's the role of the golf parent in this whole process with the junior? What's your take on that?
uh, I think I honestly I am maybe a little different than not most, than some coaches. I have a number of friends in the coaching business who do not want the parent to observe the lesson. They think maybe the kid won't perform the same way if the parent is in the room, so to say, or on the range. And I embrace the parent. If the parent wants to be there, I want the parent to be there. If the kid wants the parent there, I want the parent to be there. I think in my opinion, the parent is the second most important person in the equation. Number one is the player. If it's not, then we have a big issue. But number one is that junior golfer, the player. The player is number one above all costs. They're way above where I am in the coaching realm in the equation because they're the one that's hitting the shots. But the parent, I think, is number two. And that's because they are going to see their child hit more golf shots than I ever will. They're going to be at the dinner table or on the ride home 100% of the time, and I never will. So the parent needs to be a part of the team, in my opinion. I want the I want the parent to be comfortable to give me some feedback about what they see on the golf course. I want uh, I want the parent to know the language that I'm speaking with that junior. I feel like with each junior, actually any golfer I have, I almost have like a code language with each kid, like because each kid or player may have different slang that works for them for whatever golf swing move we're trying to improve. So if the parent can talk the same language in from a technical standpoint, and that's not saying, oh, we need to increase the radial deviation of your wrist. No, it's like stick your thumbs up or whatever that term may be for what they're working on. It's really healthy if when the kids playing a tournament, maybe they don't play that well and the parent watched it and they's like, hey, just stick your thumbs up. It's the same thing that I would say. So I think the parent is wildly important. I think from a skill development standpoint, if they can talk the same language with their child in a technical standpoint that I am, and then again, they see more shots, they're going to be able to give me data that maybe the child wouldn't. I think I'm going to generalize here, but very typically, the junior golfer will give me the better side of the story. They'll like make it sound better than it actually was because I'm the coach and they want me to think that they're doing the right thing. Right? So they'll make a bad round sound a little bit better. Oh, I had a couple bad breaks, but I hit this shot well, and like maybe I missed a putt. Then the but they will the but that junior golfer will give the parent the worst end of the story. They'll like,
Hmm.
oh, it's terrible. Like, just be so down about themselves. And really, it's somewhere in between, right? So if I get the junior story and then I get what they told the parent, then I know where they emotionally where that kid really is. Let alone the data, which if they keep stats, I have that too. It all matches up, so I can have actual real statistical data, the story from the kid, the story from the parent, and it merges nicely.
It makes sense. I mean, if you've got the buy-in from the parent, you've got someone that's reinforcing your messaging while also giving you that um, honest kind of feedback on what they're seeing as well. Like you said, that maybe the child's trying to hide the fact that maybe they weren't practicing or that they weren't keeping their thumbs up, like, or they
Yep.
forgot to do that. So that it makes sense. It's an extension of your tutelage. you had mentioned before that with a lot of these kids that they're trying to figure out like what separates an elite junior is one that's like, listen, right away, I know that this is what I want to do. I want to play college golf. I want to be a professional golfer. Like golf is in my future, as opposed to a very like high level junior who's just happy to be on the golf team, is having a great time, but is still trying to figure out what they want to do. What advice would you give to a parent that like my son's very young right now, so we're not quite there yet, but what I do see in our society is that kids, there's either two camps. You're either a tiger parent that's like, no, 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 you are going to be this whether you like it or not, or the other side is, sweetie, you can do whatever you want and you can quit anytime you want, it's okay, I just want you to be happy. Now obviously I think the answer's somewhere in the middle, but like what advice would you give to a parent that knows that their child has a really good chance to be great at something, but the child maybe is struggling with motivation or is just kind of on the fence? Like, how would you navigate that? Or how would you advise a parent to navigate that? Hey, if you're enjoying the golf parent, if these conversations have inspired you or helped you become a better parent to your junior golfer, please hit subscribe. It truly means the world to us and sends a powerful signal that what we're doing matters. And if you're feeling extra generous, leave us a review or follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Your support helps us grow and continue bringing you incredible guests each week. Thank you. And now back to the episode.
Yeah, so if I would say if possible, and you have a child who's clearly skillful and they're shooting solid scores relative to their peers in that competitive but not elite level, I would take them to if possible, like take them to, there's two answers here. Sorry, I'll be more succinct. There's two answers. One, if you can take them to a tournament that's not entirely local. I'm not saying get on a plane and fly to the other side of the country. I'm saying, can you drive 2 hours away to a tournament and and stay one night in a hotel? So it's an overnight trip, and so then and so it's a 2 day event, and they get to give them the experience of a multi-day tournament. That's where they stay in a hotel, so it's fun. It's like you're going to dinner with them, and see if they like that time. Like, are they joyful in that environment, or do they get very nervous, or do they just not like the travel? Because if they don't like the travel, then we shouldn't jump to the next step. So you have to give them the experience. Do they have some joy spending the night in a hotel, having dinner with you, being with some friends on the golf course in that tournament setting that's 2 day, that's not in their backyard? So if that's possible, great. Um, a second answer would be, if in your local area there is a few, one or two, doesn't have to be big, elite juniors who will play with your child, son or daughter, once or twice. Like, have them play with them. Like, can they see themselves like working to get to that next level? Is does it look fun? Like, I always go, there's got to be some joy in what that in any sport, but especially golf because it's so by yourself. But if you can connect them with some friends or other juniors who are like on the same pathway, they can be inspired by said other juniors. Maybe they'll go, yeah, I want to work a little harder now. And then I'm tangenting, sorry. Along those same lines, I think the at age 16 is an important age. So we're gonna say that's 10th-ish grade, right? Second semester, 10th grade, somewhere in that 10th grade year. So in the States, in the 10th grade, you're 16, something really important happens. You get a driver's license, and if you're lucky, you get a car. That is the defining moment. What is that kid going to do when they have freedom because they don't need the parent to drive them to the course anymore? And this actually applies to competitive and elite kids. Sometimes I see the competitive kids, they get the car. Now they have the ability to go to the course whenever they want, and they show up more. And so I have these quote unquote late bloomers who all of a sudden didn't play that. They were playing competitive golf in ninth and 10th grade, and all of a sudden they get the car and they're here all the time. Like, because that's what they needed it. Their parents maybe were both working. They couldn't take the kid to the course all the time. Now the kid can do it themselves. So 16 is important. The flip of that is the elite kid who his parents are always dropping them off, always with them dropping to the course. They get the car, and all of a sudden they go, where'd they go? They're driving themselves somewhere other than the golf course. So I think 16-year-old driver's license, access to vehicles in the United States is a critical point. And it's up
That's
to the kid then.
fascinating. Yeah, 100%, because now you really get to see how much they want it, because now there is no
Yeah,
excuse. They have the freedom, they have the ability to actually
correct.
take their future into their own hands.
Yep.
A huge part about elite sports is you seem to see that burnout that happens with a lot of elite juniors right around that 14 to 16 year
Mhm.
mark, when not only do they get the freedom of the car, but puberty hits and a lot of distractions and focuses and there's a lot of distractions that pull on them. What have you seen with those kids that have successfully navigated past that? Like, they're playing competitive or elite and they continue to be, as opposed to those that maybe fall off and then don't really play the sport competitively again.
No question. Yeah, burnout is definitely a thing in junior golf, especially when you get to the elite level, because of the time commitment that it takes. There's so many skills in golf, from putting, full swing driving, chipping, bunker shots. I could keep going, knockdowns, course management, what strategy you're going to use. Oh my gosh, it's like so much. And there's a lot to learn to get to that level of golf that that junior is trying to achieve. Um, so you need time to like be very good at all those areas. The ones who avoid the burnout, a couple things happen. They have another hobby that maybe they play basketball. I live in the southeast, so maybe they play basketball in the winter. Maybe in the wintertime they don't completely take golf off, but they do something else during that period. Um, that's always a win. If you can take a 1 to 2 months off in that November, December time, or maybe December, January, and not really touch the clubs that much, that's almost always works. I think so. Other sport or just time off, other hobby. Having said that, there are some kids who are obsessive, but in a very positive sense of that word. So obsessive, that has a negative connotation. If a junior just enjoys the process of, it's so cliche, but the process of getting better, like they like the challenge of, okay, my swing is here. I can hit this shot. Um, that makes a difference. But I think that's somewhat innate to some players.
Hmm.
Um, I think when I have a kid who's clearly loves the process in that way, you almost never have to worry about them burning out. They can't get enough of it. The but that's not the norm. Most people need, like, you need a little time off. I mean, I think back to myself a long time ago in college golf. You would go stay January 1st, you would start going. Like, and then you play the spring season. Then you play the summer season, which is very intense for amateur golf. Then you play the fall season. And when by the time it got to that last tournament in the fall, so like just pre-Thanksgiving, I was like, I'm out. Like, wouldn't was so happy to not touch a club for a month. Would go shoot basketballs in the gym or do something different. So having something to do other than golf is very, very healthy. Um, but if there's no clear other hobby, just taking a month off, November, December, January, one of those months, why not? Doesn't
Why
hurt.
not?
It does not hurt the long-term development, but it
And
sure
that
helps the
really is the
mindset.
focus. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It is the long-term game where it's I keep hearing and having these conversations that nobody cares about the, best 7-year-old or 10-year-old in the world. That's not what's
yeah,
important, right? You want to be
yeah.
the best 24-year-old in the world. Like, that's kind of the game plan here. Um, You've mentioned other sports a couple of times. I'm kind of curious on your take of the multi-sport athlete versus like early specialization versus playing multiple sports. And if you are in the camp of playing multiple sports, what other complementary sports would you suggest, or would you go with something completely different, like playing soccer, which is using your feet as opposed to hand-eye coordination? What's your kind of take on other sports?
So yeah, I like to, if kids can play other sports for as long as possible, as long as they're interested in having fun, I think it's very good. Uh, I personally think that basketball is a phenomenal second sport,
Interesting. Why?
because it's it's very explosive. It's You're going to work on lateral motion and rotational skills, and you're helping your hand-eye coordination. Um, like if you can shoot a basketball from uh, the foul line and you make it, you have a sense of depth perception. Like, and if you're chipping, you need a sense of depth perception. You need some like feel and touch. I have a ball in my hands. I've got to throw it there. I have a stick in my hands. I've got to hit the ball there. Right? It's not that different. But what's nice about basketball is like you have to move laterally, quickly, rotate, jump, all those things in a golf swing occur. Like you're going to be like moving slightly laterally, you're going to be like rotating, and you're going to be exploding off the ground. So it's a very, the rotary jumping lateral movement is very, very healthy. And then like, I actually think table tennis, anything along those lines, very good too. Because then you've got stick ball, like hand-eye coordination, all very positive. But say you like a kid early specializes, and I definitely have juniors who do that. They honestly they drop the other sports by themselves and they just want to play golf. That's absolutely fine too. Like, because the kid wants to do it. He or she just wants to play golf. I'm not going to force them to play something else. So why do that? They'll have no fun. They have more fun playing golf. So if that's the case, though, I do recommend working with a fitness professional if possible, just to get them in the gym, trying to make sure we're not overdeveloping one side of the body too much. We're trying to evening up like say that right-handed golfer. If you're a right-handed golfer, you're going to be rotating heavily into your right hip, right side. You're going to overdevelop your right side. So you need to balance that out, stretch it out, develop the left side of your body. So again, reducing the risk of injury. Underscore the word reducing, not eliminating, just reducing.
One of the I think the key pillars of your early education or learning how to teach sports was talking about mindset and understanding what goes into the mindset, I guess, of being great or of even learning. What have you learned, or what are some of your takeaways when either the mindsets of the elite golfers, we touched on a lot of it, like being
Yeah.
obsessed and having that desire to get better and that, but is there anything else that you've seen when it comes to the mindset that kind of separates certain juniors from others?
Uh, yes, I think. But I'm gonna change the question just
Please.
slightly, if
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay. Um, from a coaching perspective, every junior every play, I'm specifically junior for this conversation, I appreciate that all slightly different. Meaning, some juniors, when they wake up, they they wake up, and if you think of uh, a stress level, they're waking up on the far right hand side of the bell curve where stress is super high. Like if we go
Mm,
caveman, the bear is chasing them, right? Like they're like, they're waking up like that. And then they have other juniors when they wake up in the morning, they have no stress at all. They're like still half asleep, right? Like they're not going, nothing bothers them. And in reality, like somewhere in between those is where every junior golfer or any golfer plays their best. And if you think of it, when you've played your best, who are you? That sounds like a very deep statement, I know, but
I
like
love it.
what is your persona? What is your character? What is your mindset? What did you do that morning when you played your best? Because you're waking up on one somewhere on that scale, right? Somewhere you're kind of sleepy, super stressed out, and that's just who you are, and that's okay. Either one's fine. But what I as a coach I have to help that junior find the middle ground so they can get into a more of a flow state, um, where the decision making is easy on the golf course. It's not too stressful, but it's just stressful enough that their concentration, they're locked in. Um, so and that's why I think it for my job makes it very easy is figuring out the player in front of me and they help. It's a joint venture. Who are you as the golfer? And I have to help you with that. Like when you've played your best, there's breadcrumbs there, right? We know when you played your best, the decisions were easy. Like you got 160 wind off the right. Oh, that's an easy 8 iron. And the next day it's 160 wind off the right. Ah, maybe I chip in 7. Or no, maybe it's today. Or what's the difference? Why on one day are you making clear decisions and the next day you're not? And some of that's like the psychological, physiological makeup of said player. So helping that junior figure out who they are when they play their best so they can be in that mindset as often as possible is a major part of my job. That's why I had to change the question slightly. Sorry, but it is different for everybody because there's not like I don't think there's one character trait that is oh they're this and that junior has more grit or more focus than another. I think it's who they are physiologically will affect them psychologically. And therefore, if you can help that player figure out when they've played their best, what that physiological and psychological mindset is, then you're much more likely to achieve or get close to that flow state on a more frequent basis.
And it sounds like you're almost advocating, going back to the journaling aspect, to really kind of become conscious as, what did you do when you first woke up? What did you eat? What were those so that
Yeah.
you can replicate that into some sort of system or, routine or habit to give yourself the best chance to be in that high level flow state, as you said, as often as possible. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I think you've got to have some reference. And if you're writing it down, journaling is a really easy way to refer back. It's very, very easy. But even if a player doesn't like to journal, any junior golfer, especially if they're in that competitive or elite range, they know when they played the best. They can tell you the score, they can tell you the tournament, they can tell you what the weather was that day. And so then they can probably tell you what they ate for breakfast that day too. They have it's
They're
amazing.
aware.
Like the golfers, you remember the really good rounds where decision making was easy. That's I think the key. I had one player, he's actually professional, but one player, I asked him this question. I was like, so who were you? Like, what were your character traits? Like when you played your best, and he won at a very high level before, and I could see him like bursting to tell me what the answer was. And he said, silent. I'm like, really? So he's like, yeah. He's like, when I last won in there was some things in the gallery that had thrown him off early in the round, and he just decided he was just going to like not talk to anyone for the rest of the round, and he won. So he's like silent. He goes, then I noticed like when I talk to people less, I play better. And he's a really talkative guy in person. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's who it is for the player.
Would you suggest almost creating I've been hearing this over and over from some of the best superstars in the world that they almost create like an alter ego where they embody and almost give a name to that,
Yep.
what you're talking about, so that they can step into that when they get on the course or they get on the court or whatever it might be, that they're no longer who they normally are. They're now stepping into this. Would you suggest that?
I love that. I definitely yeah, that's a thing. There's a lot of examples of exactly that concept that you just mentioned. People alter ego it. I think that's a nice way to do it. I'll have players in their yardage book. Well, before I'll skip a step. Sorry. The I'll have players send me. I give them homework, and I say, in 3 days' time, you need to send me 3 to 5 character traits of who you are when you play your best. And I was like, I don't care. You can be aggressive, passive, assertive, silent, like in service,
Yeah, there's no wrong
strategic.
answer.
Like, there's no wrong answer. And then you're gonna rank them. If say you give me three, you're going to rank them one, two, and then in 3 days' time, you got to do it again. And does the list stay the same? And it normally does, but maybe they'll have they have a few more days, so they think about something else. So now they have five for sure that are clear ranked, and two of them are always the same. So I have in their yardage book at the very front, I'll ask them often to like just write those two character traits on the very front of the yardage book. So on the first hole, you pull it out of your back pocket. Everyone you're playing with thinks you're just looking at the yardage book as to what the hole is, and you are reading in your handwriting those two character traits. So then you put it in your back pocket and you say them, and then you go hit your shot. So you're to your point, you're getting into that character as you tee off.
Yeah, that's great advice. Uh, Tim, you've shared a lot of incredible value on this this episode. If people want to get into your ecosystem, if they want to get a lesson, or if they want to kind of follow along with some of your insights, what's the best way for people to follow you and to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So um, Instagram is probably easiest. It's at Tim Cooke Golf. Uh, and then actually, I just have someone in the process redoing my website, which for which is also Tim Cooke Golf. You can check me out. I work at the Sea Pines Resort down here in South Carolina, so you can get to me there. My email, you're more than welcome to shoot me an email at Sea Pines. That's tcook@seapines.com. So lots of ways. More than happy to answer any emails or questions you have in any of those options.
And just to be clear, that's Cook with an E,
Yeah, yeah, good
Cooke.
point. Yeah, yep.
Great. Okay. If you have, which you arguably do right now, if you had the ears of mm, like golf parents out there, what advice would you give those golf parents on how to best be a sport parent, or how best to support their child and their junior golfers adventure in the game of golf?
Uh, I would have them be very open with their coach, whoever they're working with, and ask them that exact question. Like, what do you think I can do to be the best parent for my child? Like to help support him or her in the journey. Um, because back to when we talked about how I view parents, I want them part of the team. I want them to talk the same language from technique. Um, I would, if the coach is like, oh, doesn't want you in the room, which is okay, then maybe this has how that coach operates.
Because I have heard
On
that
the
from a lot of coaches. That's for sure. Is that they
lesson
would
team,
rather the parents just be at home.
yeah, I would ask them, say, hey, can you give me a summary of what words I should use when my child asks, look after a bad shot, flips their head around and goes, hey, what did I do wrong? Because you want to be able to repeat what that coach would say from a technical standpoint. I use so I use Coach Now as my method of communication for all junior golfers or all golfers, and so I always have the parent in there as much as I possibly can. So that way the parent can see all of my lesson notes and review. So I would have the parent, even if the coach does not want them on the tee, say, hey, that's absolutely fine, but can you just give me the bullet points as to what the game plan is? Purely for the reason when the kid turns around after a round of golf and says, why was I hitting the shot left? That parent can say what the technical game plan is, and the kid can go work on it. I think that's critical because if you have multiple voices giving multiple different answers to the same "why did my ball go left" question, that kid has you have diminished the chances of success for that child like really quickly. So you
Hmm.
got to be on the same page with the player, with the coach as to what the language is regarding the technical change. I would say that would be my like number one.
That makes sense. Tim, I got one final question here.
Please.
You talked about the yardage book, so I'm just coming up with a question right now, which is, if you could write one sentence, one either motivational statement, one piece of advice into every single junior golfer's yardage books on that first page, what would be that one piece of advice or that one tip or that one sentence you would write in there?
Um, God, I've got two in my head, so I'm going to give you two. Sorry,
Share
I'm
them
too
both,
long-winded.
extra
I have
credit.
to give you two. Maybe we'll do one in the front cover, one in the back cover. How about that?
Beautiful.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
So the front cover, I would write, "Do this for you." If and underscore, this is the reason why I'd say that, is that you're not doing it for your parent. You're not doing it for your coach. You're not doing it for the possible college coach who may see the score posted online later. You're doing it because you want to master the game, even though it's not, you can't master the game, but you're trying to like hit a great golf shot. You're trying to like see how low you can do. So you're doing this for you would be on the front cover without question. And then on the back cover, like on the back of it, I would I would have them write "Be where your feet are," meaning like be super present on that first tee as you're so fortunate to be able to like walk down the first fairway and compete. Uh, it doesn't matter if you made a double bogey, right? It's like you're just where you are. You're trying to hit this shot, that one. It's so cliche, but that one shot as well as you possibly can. And as opposed to, again, worrying about what others may think, you're just like standing there on the grass, being super present in that moment, letting like, just allowing thoughts to like disappear and like having like the one thought that you've come up with to like focus on when you're going to hit a great shot. So it would be do it for you on the front, and then in the back, be where you are.
I see what you had two because they're both absolutely fantastic. I don't think I could choose one as being better than the other. So, Tim, thank you so much for your time. This was absolutely wonderful. Really do appreciate
It's a
you
pleasure.
coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy to speak to you. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. As a fellow golf parent, I know how much this journey matters. If this podcast helped you even 1%, please consider following and reviewing it. It's the #1 way to grow the community and keep bringing you elite insights week after week. And while you're here, check out the show description for exclusive discounts from our sponsors, handpicked to help your junior golfer train smarter and play better.